Taxi Wildlife is a super simple children's game that I picked up pretty much by chance without knowing anything about it in my friendly local game store, simply because I wanted something new to play with my two daughters, which are now respectively 2.5 and 4.5. It's a simple game, and it's one of those tactile games in which a big component, probably the main element in the game actually, is to stick your hand inside a bag and to select the correct item among several possible ones simply by touching and by figuring out the shape of the item. There are a couple of other elements here. For example, the game is more complex than similar games such as Go Away Monster, which is a very famous, very popular game for children, and my daughters have played the heck out of that one. We pretty much destroyed the box. The box was so worn out, and now the components for Go Away Monster are in a bag. But back to Wildlife Taxi, it is based on that same idea, but with more elements around it. The theme is pretty cute. The theme is that the players are taxi drivers and in Africa, and they are going around with their jeep and picking up jeep or buses, I guess, picking up animals that are waiting at the bus stop, and I don't know where they go at the end of the story. I hope it's not at the zoo. I hope they're all going to a big animal party. Yay, animal party. But the point is that you need to pick them up, and that's how you score points and win the game. Let me show how the game works. The game plays with 2 to 4 players. I would recommend 3 or 4. And each player receives one of these cards at the beginning of the game that also determines the color of that player. Suppose that we have red versus yellow here. All starting cards are the same. They all represent a crossroad with one road coming out from one edge of the card and 2 on the other. The only other difference that matters, again, is the color. Then you have a deck of challenge cards. From this deck at the beginning of the game, you select the cards with the colors of the players. So here pretty much is only red and yellow. Suppose it was 3 players, suppose we also have blue, then you have to make a deck excluding only the cards with the purple cards with cars, and including the cards that include all sort of possible combinations among these cards. So yellow with red, yellow with red, and yellow with red again. This one we don't need, and yellow with red with blue, and so on and so forth. So you select these cards and you form a deck, which is called the challenge deck. The challenge deck simply tells you which players are playing in each given turn. Yes, not all players are playing at all times. In each turn, only 2 players will play, but everybody gets to play. Everybody will alternate doing so. So at the beginning of each turn, you flip a card. Okay, this turn, blue and red are the active players. Now it gets fun. There are 2 bags in the game, and they contain wooden animals. 2 per kind. Kangaroos, sheep, frogs, snakes, crocodiles, and penguins, which some children we played the game with identified as ducks. So you set up the 2 bags at the beginning of the game so that they contain the same sets of 2 animals. What's happening is that the 2 players that are now the active players, suppose red and blue, will grab a bag each. As you can see on each challenge card, a car is circled. That player chooses which bag goes to which player. So following the instructions of the, we'll call it the challenging player, players grab the bags, which, remember, at the beginning will have the same assortment of animals. They stick their hand in there, and they're trying to look for specific animals. So you're simply feeling inside the bag and trying to figure out which is the animal that you're going for. What is the animal that you're going for, by the way? You shuffle these 3 decks independently, and at the beginning of the game you reveal a card from each deck. As you can see, each card shows a net of roads with a symbol of an animal. This is the animal that is waiting to be picked up by the taxi at the bus stop. Some cards only have a symbol. For example, this is a symbol of the frog. Some cards have the symbol and then also a more detailed representation of the animal itself. I'll explain later how that is important. What matters for now is the symbol. In order to be able to acquire a card, you need to be the first player to find the corresponding animal in the bag. Suppose that I'm playing with my daughter, we are going through the animals in here. Where is it? And I find the kangaroo. Well, then I can say I'm the first player to find a correct animal. I say, okay, stop right there, I got it. I show the kangaroo. And then I can take control of that card. With the frog, I would be able to grab this card. And then I add it to my net of roads. Suppose that I'm the red player. Then I can add this card here on this side of my net of roads. As you can see, roads can be... There can be 1 road, 2 roads, or 3 roads coming out of a card, and therefore being available at the edges of your net of roads. In most cases, you will be able to add any of the cards that are available, so you could just look for any of the available animals. There are situations in which, for example, I have a more restricted net of roads, and suppose that this is the case. Now, as you can see, I could only attach cards that have a 1 on one of their sides, so I would not be able to attach this card, so it's useless for me to try to get that card. So, you're trying to look for cards. When you get the corresponding animal, you attach the card to your net, only if it's a card that you can actually attach. After you found the card, the animal, and you attach the card to your roads, you put the animal back in the baggie, unless the animal that you collected, that animal on the card that you just collected, is also represented on the card. So if you manage to collect a card that has the animal, the symbol, and the animal, then you actually retain the wooden animal and you place it on your net of roads too. Which means that after a couple of turns, the 2 bags will not be the same, but it's kind of advanced to remember which bag has which animals and which bag does not have all copies of a certain animal. Frankly, I can't do it. I personally can't do it, and I don't think that my 2-year-old daughter or my 4-year-old daughter are doing it. We just grab whichever bag and we hope we were lucky. In any case, you go through all of the challenge cards, so players alternate digging into the bag, getting cards whenever a card is taken from there, of course it is replaced, getting cards, getting animals from time to time, enlarging their net of roads, and the game continues like this until one of several possible endgame conditions present themselves. It's maybe that you go through all of the cards in the challenge deck, then you reshuffle it and you start again, and you do that 4 times. At the end of the 4th round, or the 4th time that you use the deck, the game is over and you count points. It may also be that the game is over because one of the decks is completely empty, because you used up all of the cards in that deck. It pretty much depends on the number of players, really, if the game is going to end because of this or because of this. Also, if the game is dragging too long, you can simply cut it short by playing, for example, a single round, which is what we do. With a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, we play a single round, we go through the deck once, and we score, and the game is over. Hooray! And we're happy that way. You can play longer games if you so wish. How do you determine the winner? Very simple. At the end of the game, each card that you acquired, so you do not count the initial one, each card that you acquire is worth a victory point. Each animal that you acquired is worth a victory point. And if you want to count the initial card, that's fine too. It gets to bigger numbers. The children are happy. Just make sure that in that case, all players are scoring their initial card. Player with the total highest amount of victory points is the winner of the game. My 4.5 really enjoys this game, and so does my younger one. I think that the older one enjoys it even more. Something cool is that the game has different aspects to it. It has a little bit of a puzzle aspect. When a player is selected to go, a player is selected to have a turn, then you hand them the correct bag, which may be the one that the player selected, and before everybody sticks their hand in there, because the kids are so excited they want to do it, you just remind them to look at the available options of the available cards and to look at their own cards, because not all cards may fit. Maybe they'll go and get an animal and the animal will give them a card that they cannot attach to their net of roads. So there's a minimal puzzle aspect, which for adults is automatic. You look at them and you see which cards will fit and which ones will not. For the kids, it's a little bit of work, but it's fun work. It's like a fun puzzle. It's a fun challenge for them. So first, you recommend the children to figure out in advance which piece or pieces, which card or cards they may want, and therefore which animal or animals they should be looking for. And then just looking for the animals, of course, is fun, is exciting. Sometimes the kids get the wrong ones and everybody laughs. They're so happy and so proud when they get the right animal. The components look really good and they feel good. The same animals here, the same wooden animals, are the ones that are used in another children game, Animal Upon Animal. If you know that one, then, and if you maybe have that one, but if you played that one, you know the quality of the components. It is the same publisher and it is the same quality of the components. And gameplay works well. It may not be the most exciting game that I play, and I'm going to play it with adults. It is a children-only game. But the children that I played it with, which is my daughters and some of their friends, really love it. The game does not have a problem that I thought it may have, in the fact that not all children play at the same time. Because only 2 players play, and we played with 4 players once, and I thought, oh gosh, maybe some of the players will feel bored, will feel left out. But actually, I had the impression that they were able to deal with downtime better than with other games. For example, with games where you take your turn and then everybody else takes your turn, and then it is your turn again. Only 1 player goes at a time, and you have to wait until the other players are done. Here, at least, true, not everybody's playing every second, but 2 players are playing at the same time instead of just 1. That already helps. And the fact that you do not know when your turn is, I just found kids to react much better than I thought they would. I thought they would be annoyed. It's not my turn, I want my turn. That almost never happened, virtually never happened. The kids seem to be very excited and proud when it is their turn. Yeah, proud as if they did something to deserve that. So they're very happy and proud when it is their turn, and they do not seem to mind when it is not their turn. They just look what happens. They're excited to see which of the other 2 friends is going to get the animal. This game has been a big hit. My 4.5-year-old has no problem playing the game, nor other children that we play the game with that are around that age. The game played as written, as described, is a little too hard for my youngest one, 2.5, but we found a little variant, which is my 2.5 peeks into the bag. And trust me, she's not, just seeing the mass of animals, it's not easy for her to figure out which is the right one. Actually, it just seems that really even things out. Sometimes she manages to win and to take the animal out before the kids that are not looking do, and sometimes she doesn't. So actually, it just worked very well. It worked out better than we thought because it has even things out perfectly. Now she is a player that has a good chance, but not left behind, nor that she has an automatic win because she's staring or peeking or just staring into the bag. It's just so funny to look at her like staring in there, as this is supposed to be a game where you do not look. Taxi Wildlife. It's a nice game. It's a nice, cute little game. My daughters loved it. Other children that we played it with loved it too. I would recommend it. I would recommend it. I'm not an expert on development, so I do not know the kind of skill building, conceptual, cognitive advantages that there would be in trying to figure out things simply from touching them. I do not know if there is an advantage of that type. But what I know is that this game is really fun to play. My daughters have really enjoyed it, and very often when we look at all the games that we have available at home, this is the one that they ask me for, and this is the one that they want to play. Taxi Wildlife, it's a good game.